Noon. I'm Beth Copeland with Georgia Christian Business Network, and we're putting God back in business. It's Tuesday, and it is now time for our Transformation Tuesday power call, business power call. And what I'm excited about that we started really this month portraying an opportunity. I call it a parade of our community sponsors. Georgia Christian Business Network, we're focused, determined, and intentional to put God back in business. We're concerned about the things that God's concerned about. And Community Partners is a special platform, if you will, that we have on GCBN platform, within, I should say. What we do is we focused on being a part of what's happening in the community. We focus on causes that are important to us as individuals that impact our lives. And if it impacts our lives, it impacts our businesses. So what we do is we undergird these awesome causes, and we ask the champions of these causes to come be a part of our platform so that we can provide greater exposure to the great work that they're doing. No different this week. We have an amazing guest. She's not new to us. She's true to us, is what I like to say. Collette Cosby. She is the executive director of the YMCA, our local JM Toll location. And Collette, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I appreciate so much having the opportunity to be here today. And Beth, forgot to throw in her accolade is she is actually part of our community board as well. So as a community board member of the Y and a supporter, we so appreciate you having us here today or having me here
Thank
today.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love the opportunity to work under your leadership because she's doing amazing things here at our local. And I'm going to let her lead, and I'm sure she's going to sprinkle some of those great things that are happening here. But leadership is important to be able to be productive in life. And so you do a great job leading this opportunity for us. The other thing that I'll mention before I allow you to just start in what God has given you to give to us that we can glean is this is the year to stand at Georgia Christian Business Network. And I promise you, I'm assured personally that God intended for stand to be a thing, if you will, this year, because there have been opportunities for me personally and so many people that I've talked with that are being challenged in life, in business. And the important thing is God already knew because he knows the end in the beginning that we would be facing in 2025 some of the things that we're facing. And not everyone is facing difficulties or challenges. Some are really just zooming through. But the opportunities, even when things are wonderful, there's gonna be an opportunity that you're gonna be challenged to stand. And so throughout the message, perhaps we'll share some of the acronym, but I don't want to delay a moment longer. I really want to transition over to you, Colette, to share with us your title. Introduce yourself beyond um, what I've shared, the opportunity for letting the people know who you are, what you do, and why it's so important for us to know, and then lead right into what God has given to you for us today.
Absolutely. All right. So my name again is Collette Cosby, and I am the executive director of the James Hall Gwinnett Family YMCA. And we're a part of the Metro Atlanta YMCA's. And I've been in this location. Oh my goodness, it's almost been 4 years, which isn't that crazy, Beth? Almost 4 years. Um, but I like to always start with saying, I was a Y kid, and I think that to me is one of the reasons that I am so loyal to this organization. I know we all have some of our first memories growing up, and to this day, one of my very first memories is Now, we do it a little different now, but standing on that diving board at my swimming lessons and being like, okay, we got to jump off this diving board to finish your swimming lessons. And the why has been a part of my life ever since. So it is
Awesome.
why part of this organization is so huge to me. And I would love to share a little bit about one of the things that we do that's a little special at the James Hole Y, and that is our community garden. And Beth was here at the beginning, I believe, of when we started this process, but it has been just a labor of love. And overall title of what I'm going to share today is called From Soul to Soil, or Soil to Soul.
I love
And
that. I love that, by the way. I thought that was, oh, unique, very creative, soul to soul. I love it.
so much, and I have pictures of our community garden here because I want to just share a little bit about some of the things we've done, but B, what the original vision was, and progress forward. So originally when we started this garden, it was with the help of the Arthur Blank Foundation, and they had a goal, and their goal actually emanated from the pandemic and how so many of our families and our communities struggled because they didn't have the funds or the resources to be able to eat. And not only eat, but also eat healthy food. And the why, which is, yeah, again, one of the reasons I love the why is even though at that time when they got this grant, I was not part of this organization yet in Atlanta. I was actually in living in Austin, and I had the opportunity to say, people would say, what do I do? What I do? And I knew immediately from that, go to the why. We were providing, and whys across the country were providing childcare for our essential workers, and they were providing places for food distribution across the country. Here in Atlanta, we did over 1 million meals, which is an amazing effort on our part. And, I know that that is something that it was so meaningful to us as an organization to be able to be a community partner that could help everyone throughout the metro Atlanta area. At the same time, Arthur Blank saw this need and they bestowed upon us a grant to build our community garden. Their focus was essentially that they wanted to ensure that low income youth and families had healthy food and access to culturally relevant food. Here in Gwinnett, we are an extremely diverse community, but it's across the world, it's important that people know how to grow food. And when I think about that, it kind of harkens back to me when I think of how in Matthew, Jesus tells his followers to follow me and I'll make fishers of men. And when he says that, it's so important about how skills are important for people to have. And the skill of being able to feed yourself is something that you cannot underestimate.
Mm.
And so many of,
You,
go ahead.
if I may just,
Yeah.
what you just said, repeat that again.
Yeah.
Repeat it.
Having the skill to feed yourself is something we cannot underestimate.
Not at all,
Mhm.
because there's dignity, there's uh, self-esteem. So much is wrapped up and tied up into the opportunity. Most people consider and push back if you differ that the average person wants to be in that predicament that they are in. But honestly, I believe more and more often that people want to be able to provide for themselves. I believe it provides an opportunity of empowerment, an opportunity for to know that I'm supplying the needs and I'm contributing to my welfare rather than having to depend on someone else. And I was trying to think of the saying and a challenge Lisa to look if you teach a man to fish,
Mhm.
he's prepared for life or something like that. I haven't
Absolutely.
quoted it in a while, but you're when you're feeding them for that day,
Mhm.
so to speak. I'm really
I know.
botch
I
it
know
up there
exactly
for
what you're referring to. If you feed a man a fish, you're feeding him for a day. If you
right.
teach him a fish, you're feeding him for life.
Life. Exactly. I love that. Yes.
And so when we started the garden, and I think you kind of led into it right then, it was a combination of things. We were, how do we empower people to A, grow their own food, but B, how do we also teach them? And so that's where it came about. And since that 2021, since we got that grant funding, we've built 37 beds in the garden. And that was in 2022. And 27 of those beds are rentable. And that way, because not everybody has backyards or access to, soil and things of that nature. So we have 27 rentable beds. And then we did 10 programmatic beds. So those 10 programmatic beds were what we use in our after school programming, our camp programming, um, and for our member programs. And so when you start talking about people having one, access to a place to grow food, and then a secondary spot of, when I say programmatic beds, places where we can teach lessons, our kids learning how to grow food, our learning what it takes to do that, because there's so much in gardening and in the actual art of agriculture that is so close to how we think about when people, are practicing their faith. And I think that's, to me, what is one of the reasons I titled this what it is, because it teaches you about planting and nurturing. How do you nurture something in somebody? How do you
Mm,
nurture, your plants? It takes a certain level of faith. You take a little seed and you drop it in the soil, and it takes a certain level of faith to believe that it's going to come up.
awesome.
Yeah. And then, you know, the growth and the change in that garden life cycle. So through our through our garden beds, what we do is, and I'm just going to kind of give you an overview. Every 6 months we rent them out, but I will say that over and over again, people are renewing their beds. And it's such a great experience to see. I had one person who was like, when we first built it, they were like, "What is that out there?" And I was like, "It's a garden bed." And they were like, "Okay, it looks a little funny." And then it started with, "Okay, I'll get one." So the first year we had a garden bed, so the first 6 months, she got one. And then the next 6 months, her husband got another one. And then it was a competition between the two of them who could grow the most food. And then the next year they got three. And now and the third one is for their kids. So when I sit here and I think about how a family went from, okay, what you put a wooden box on a soccer field, to now we have three beds, and as a family, we know how to grow our own food. We know how, the process of that life cycle and change.
Mm,
But then on top of that, we are now able, because we're such fruitful people, that we are able to donate that food back to the community.
wow, I know. Isn't that amazing? The give back opportunity as well. What a
Yeah,
blessing.
absolutely.
Awesome.
And so, just to share some of the stats, I know you can see them on there, but since we started, we've given 800 plus pounds of produce to families in our community. We
How do people gain access to become a recipient for those that have need, or how does that
Mhm.
work?
So we have a couple of different ways that we do things. So one is we actually donate to the local co-op, the Lawrenceville Co-op. The second way is we bring it into our branch here. And so we do that on Thursdays as well. And then the last way is our health and harvest. And I'm going to share a little bit about that too, a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that I thought was really inspirational or really important about the garden was being able to volunteer. Um, so many people want to give back to their community. I'm a firm believer that people want to, they just need the resource to. And then thinking about the fact that we built that from scratch. It was not an easy lift in terms of physical labor. And to know the number of volunteers that we have come out still to maintain the garden, to make sure that, the beds are available. And, I think of, for example, our raised beds. We have raised beds that are about 3 feet off the ground.
Mhm.
And therefore, and generally our seniors rent them because they don't want to necessarily get to the ground to, or can't get to the ground maybe to actually garden, but to have a raised bed where I don't have to bend over is such an amazing access for them, and it gives them the opportunity to be a part of that as well. But we still have to prepare that for them. So thinking about those are volunteers that are making that happen. We have a community garden assistant, but one, even though we have one or two people alone, they cannot do that. And so, I so appreciate the fact that people want to give back to that.
And you said something key again that I have to go back over is that people really want to help and volunteer. And I know you're probably going to push back on this because, for me in particular, because sometimes I think people just don't know that they have something to contribute.
That's very
And even with me, when I received the ask to be on the board, I'm like, you don't need me, and the same thing with Family Promise Board, Carol Love. No, you don't need me. What can I do?
Mhm.
And there's value that others can see that you could provide because they have the need. And you were like, no, I think we need you. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
you could help here. And then sometimes I think people are just waiting on the ask. They don't even realize or recognize, I was already doing some things, in my ministry that were give back. And um, it extended to once I became a board member that, hey, I saw another opportunity with, and I'll talk about that some too, and is with our Community Partners Day and where we hand out checks. And so you became a part of that, but there were also some hands-on, some leadership opportunities, some exposure that, like we're doing right now on the platform, and other opportunities with the programs that you have. We could plug people in to assist you to help with that. So I just think exposure is important, and then the ask is important as well, to make sure that we're saying, here, come support, because you may have giftings with children, or even I love what you're mentioning, the seniors, because the why covers, you know,
Mhm.
the entire from birth to, you know,
Yes, we do.
you know, older age, for the elders is always something to do, lots that you provide.
And that's very true, like all ages. And I appreciate you saying that, thinking that you did, first of all, Beth, anybody who knows you know that you have so much to offer. So if you don't know that, I want you to hear me right now and saying that you do. And I so appreciate your time, effort, and energy on the board. If I could tell y'all, I could go on a little bit longer. I won't get off topic. I won't stray too far, but she has done some great things for our Y and particularly our youth at our Y as a board member.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, but kind of in that same vein, I do think that so many people have so much to offer. Sometimes people at the Y, we always say time, talent, treasure. So sometimes it's your time, sometimes it's your talent, sometimes it's, your treasure meaning money. But regardless of which one it is, we appreciate them all. And you don't know the impact that you can have with any of those things. And I think it's just so extremely important that people understand the value, especially a lot of times I think people have something inside them that they may not even think is that unique. They may not even think is that special, but sometimes your time is simply that unique and special. Sometimes it may not even be necessarily a skill set, but your time is invaluable.
You said another key word that I have to highlight,
Mhm.
impact. You don't even know the impact that you're making. And I receive that and I appreciate your sharing that. But something we take, and I don't want to sound too loose about this, for granted that we bring to the table, we may not even recognize it.
Yeah.
But it's like, your particular thing with the men of GCB, not the men of GCBN, what is it? The men of the program.
Young men driven with purpose.
Young men driven with purpose. That is amazing. I didn't know that I could add value to that
Mhm.
because, but it wasn't directly, it was indirectly. Who did Beth? What about this person that I've seen on your platform? What about that? I have that individual, and I
Right.
have relationship with those people, and I tapped into them for the purpose of the why. And
Mhm.
so what I really hope that people hear in what you're saying about impact is that you're making an indirect sometimes impact by the volunteer and by the things that you have, that you're resourceful and you don't even know it, you
So
know?
true. So true. Absolutely. So before I feel like I'm gonna make a hard shift, but I do wanna talk about a little bit about our youth participants, and I think, you know
Okay.
what? And this kinda goes back to our impact. We have been so blessed to have some really great partners, as well. And yet again, so the Gwinnett Extension has done a number of classes for us. As a matter of fact, right now, they are running a specialty camp for us, which is a specialty camp is like where youth who's shown a specific interest in something can learn about it. And they're running our garden and agricultural camp. And that is part of, one of the things that is what makes partners so important, and we talk about our 650 youth, you're talking about after school, camp, kids who are, they may just be here for a day, but they get exposure that they never would have before. And I always tell this story. So if you've heard it before, I apologize. I'll never forget. I one time had a marketing coordinator, and she was putting together something for Thanksgiving, and there was a picture of a cornucopia, and she was like, "I don't know why they have a cantaloupe on a cornucopia." And I was like, "Girl, that's a squash." Um, but, just the fact that she didn't know that and had that experience, and can you imagine, you know, how different and how much changed people will be when they are able to have those experiences?
Oh, wow. I
And
love it.
yeah, and so
That's
when
funny though.
yeah, it was, I was just like, "Okay." But, like, and it's so interesting because, like, I have had that experience because I had my grandmother and my father and gardeners in my family, but yet again, it's one of those things where I took it for granted. And I had maybe I just showed or something that day, but, in theory, I had something to give. And think about all the things that maybe you have to give that you never think about before.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
So I have a couple of videos I would love to share, just
Please.
kind of the kids and their experience, and I'm hoping you can hear this.
Why do you like going to the garden?
I like going to the garden because there's a bunch of pretty stuff and I like flowers and other plants.
Why do you like going to the garden?
I like going to the garden because I get to eat stuff.
Because you get to eat stuff.
I like going to the garden because there's food there, you can eat it, and I love garden food and
Okay.
vegetables.
Why do you like to go to the garden?
Because I like growing stuff.
You like growing stuff?
And so those are some of the kids in our after school program. And to think, like, so the concept of they like growing stuff, that's what's special to them. And they have experienced something, maybe they don't have the vocabulary and the words or even the life experience yet to share how impactful that is. To think that, now that you can grow stuff, that, I like to eat, but even the kids that still like to eat, I like to eat, but now they know they're eating healthy food and they have the experience of doing that in their community. And, I cannot share to me how important that is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's amazing. Just a joy. I mean, if you could just see the expression. I know we can't see the full view of the face, but I can see the eyes. I can tell when someone's having joy through the eyes, till the windows to the soul. That's what
Uh,
the scripture says.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna tie in what you said, from soul to soul.
Mhm.
And that's impactful. That's powerful. And looking at this little one's
Mhm.
eyes, the
Yeah.
joy of what he's experiencing
Mhm.
is amazing. Yeah, Lisa, be still my heart. Mm.
Yeah. To me, I think one of the things that is so in our world of we often show the results, right? Even in food, we see the results, we see the impact, in our a lot of presentation. But what the things that they're learning, I don't know if you could tell the second kiddo I showed, his name is Asa. He was next to a wheelbarrow because they're learning that, you have to do all of those things. You have to put your fertilizer in, you have to actually, till your soil. It takes a level of patience and perseverance to make things happen.
It's the cultivation, the
Mhm.
cultivating it is, and even being able to relate that to real life,
Life.
you
Mhm.
know, that are you saying something, Jadana? Would you like to contribute, please?
Yeah, I was actually repeating what you were saying because Colette, this is awesome. I
Mhm.
mean, you touch my heart all the way from Belgium.
Mhm.
And the impact that this organization is leaving in the life of this generation, this is a seed that can never be uprooted. And it will even help them to understand life better because of the process you just explained. Cultivate, to work on the ground and wait patiently, and and then the result is you get to eat it, you get to enjoy it. So
Mm.
you in Belgium we say chapeau. It means well done.
Chapeau, is that I say it right?
Yeah, chapeau.
Okay.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
I love it. Thank you, Jadana. And it's amazing to watch this and to relate to growing up. My dad, my late father, planted grapevines, and I'm telling you, you would have thought you were in the land of Canaan or somewhere with these huge grapes, and we would go out and just pick them right off the vine and eat them. No washing or whatever. Of course, my mom
Mhm.
made us pick them. We were supposed to be picking them, take
Yeah.
them in, and she would wash them.
Uh-huh.
But you didn't have to worry about, what is it, pesticides or things like that.
Mhm.
And then across the street in varying places with the neighborhood kids, we found like blackberry bushes and strawberry vines, and we go pick them and pick the blackberries because mom would always want enough to make a pie or something. But we'd be eating as many as we were picking, you
Oh,
know,
yes, I do.
and so to relate now, that came up to mind as I'm watching the children out there having appreciation and to develop. I have a strong appetite for fruit. And
Mhm.
I just, in this conversation right now, related it back to probably in my childhood of having access to so much fruit
Yes.
in the summers and such.
And yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. We used to have a blackberry bush, and
Uh-huh.
out there I went, thorns and all. And just having that opportunity just to pull the blackberries and eat blackberry, have one for the pie that my grandmother was gonna make, you know, and it was one for one usually.
Yes. I mean, it was just like amazing. You didn't hear, oh, don't eat that before you wash it,
Mhm.
because there was some care happening there. There were things like Lisa's talking about tomatoes on a vine and things, and
Mhm.
you loved to get the tomatoes. To me, seem fresh.
Yes.
They were. so fresh when they were right off the vines, you know. It's just amazing what you're teaching here. And I love what Jadonna said. I love supporting this cause because you do impact the lives of, I mean, you're talking about the boxes being high for the seniors. So because they don't have to stoop and I mean consideration like that and
So
So,
integrating both all of the ages into this is wonderful. I feel like I just learned a little bit more from, and I've been on the board almost 3 years, you know.
well, we try to. We I feel like you probably are learning new things, but it's only because sometimes I think we don't do as good of a job, and I, myself included, of sharing all of the things that we're doing. And so many, just like gifts, we don't share maybe the things that are important, or don't share the things that we think take for as part of our day to day. And that's why I so appreciate the opportunity to be here because even I, in doing it day to day, you do the okay, I'm making sure everything is happening. I'm doing all of the things to make sure that, we have soil but having the opportunity to even make this presentation reminded me of how important the things that we do are.
wow. And is the organization in Lawrenceville?
We our particular branch, we are the only one with a community garden like ours. We're in Lawrenceville. But, I think that there's opportunities for otherwise to do something similar. It's just a matter of being, making sure that they have the support to make it happen.
Okay. Wow. If I knew that I would meet you on today, I would have stayed a little bit longer and come and see the garden.
No, yeah.
But you're here, maybe we can swing by because you've got a half a day. It's
Yeah.
just, it's
Okay.
gonna be whatever state I'm in physically
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I
to
would
be
I
able to
would
take you
I would
around.
love that honestly because this is a
Okay,
great vision.
Hmm.
okay,
Oh,
awesome,
yeah, we'd love to have you.
awesome. Awesome. We're gonna get Colette to sign up at least for that Friday night so y'all can hang out a little bit together. Maybe
Yes.
we go over there that Monday and we'll plan it though offline for just
Yes.
because she's gonna spend some time with some other people that you know, Colette,
Okay. All right.
that
There
was
we go.
recently supportive to you.
All
So some of
right.
those people that I sent your way. Yeah. So
Oh,
we'll make sure that happens.
okay. All right.
Awesome.
Well, before I jump off, I do want to tell you a little bit about our Health and Harvest too.
Okay.
So we we donate food, um, and give away food all the time. But one of the things that we're finding is, which we're so grateful for, is sometimes we ended up with a little bit more than what we could give away, or what could be donated and and spent at the same and even before it would bad or things like that. So one of the things that we started recently was our Health and Harvest. And so with our Health and Harvest, what we do is every third Saturday of the month, we partner with a health provider. Um, so in some, you'll see the ones on the inside that look like they're inside of a building. We actually started in January, so it was a little chilly. We have now moved outside, and through our Health and Harvest, we are able to one, sell produce to help fund the garden, and then but in addition to that, bring in a community partner to share information. So and one of them you can kind of see it's Peach State. Peach State is a
Mhm.
Medicaid and Medicare provider in Georgia, and they are essentially provide we have a relationship with them where if you have a youth in your family that is on Medicaid, that you can receive a free membership to the YMCA. So it's a great partnership in that they provide access to resources, and we're able to provide, an opportunity to purchase fresh vegetables. And in addition to that, one of the things we said, okay, we're going to have these vegetables, but I don't know how familiar everybody is. So I apologize if I share too much. If you are on are on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, if you receive those benefits, when you buy fresh food, you get a 50% discount on that. So we made a point of signing up for to be eligible to take SNAP benefits as well. because sometimes there's a little bit of a gap between individuals who maybe can receive something at the co-op, but maybe also and those who qualify for SNAP. So it gives them the opportunity also. So, like for example, you see that organic rosemary up there at $3 for a bunch, but I mean, they can buy it for $1.50. And what it does is it gives people the opportunity to learn a little bit about the food as well. So we'll have actual information out, how to cook it, how to dry it. We had some carrots out last time, as you can see. And it's just one of the things, another way that we can take the produce and the fruitfulness of the garden and bring it together with a health partner to further our commitment to wellness community. So,
I'm muted.
oh,
Okay, so that's
mhm,
amazing. Great opportunity. And I love the partnership there because there's a need. And then by investing, you got an incentive in there that's
mhm,
tied into that to be able to direct them towards the health piece
right.
of the food. Yeah. Am I interpreting correctly?
Absolutely, and it's been such a great opportunity to have different partners come in. We had one time we had a sleep expert come in, and to hear and one her specialty is newborn sleep. Now, I don't have kids, but I've been around enough newborns to know if you can teach a mom like some tips, and tricks to get that newborn to sleep, that's just an opportunity there to learn something new. But she's also teaching people about the benefit of sleep. So we're talking about sleep. We've had financial experts out. We've had because wellness can is all encompassing, right? And to be able to say, okay, maybe I this is a health moment where I can learn a little bit about the food, learn how to cook the food, have interaction with the gardeners, but also there's this other aspect to it of my wellness that maybe is not normally located in the why, but now I have that resource.
Exactly. And I love it that wellness is just the fullness of it.
Mhm.
The interaction, the relationship,
Yeah.
uh the opportunities. I know Dr. Anidra said that her grandparents
Mhm.
did gardening when she was being raised, and they would go over and snap the beans, from what I'm
Oh,
gathering
yeah.
from her comment there. But it stopped when they weren't as easily available. And I guess as they grew up and went away and not coming back those summers, like my kids had that experience with
Mhm.
my mother-in-law and the gardening in happening in LaGrange, and snap the peas. And I mean, there were like bushels of peas, and snap the beans and things like that, shell the peas. And it
Mhm.
was just a lot. But one of the things that I like is integrating back to bringing the elders out again, and looking for those opportunities through those community partners to be resourceful for them, but at the same time to get them back to some basics is what
Right.
I'm hearing too.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting as I sit here and I kind of look at these images. I don't know if you see this. That's Toya there. She actually it was so funny because she was like, okay, I'm buying this because they told me to buy it. I'm not 100% sure. And then our gardeners got out there and said, okay, and she was buying mint is what she was putting, and they were like, okay, this is how you use it. This is how you dry it. This is what you can use the fresh for. And so then she walked away with recipes. She walked away with how to dry it. And then our community partner for that event was like, okay, let me tell you a little bit about the health benefits of mint. And now she was there actually there for financial literacy, but hey, she had something to share. And so, she was able to share more of the health benefits for mint and how she uses it in her household. And I just thought, what an amazing collaboration.
I
To
love
think
it.
that somebody, we can all work together to make to make somebody's, I will say it's just impact at the end of the day. I don't lost
Yeah,
words other than impact
yeah.
is what it is.
And it's, it's to the positive. And I heard you hesitate for a minute there. And I'll finish it. Make
Yeah.
someone's life better improvement, to add value to someone's life and make a positive impact, because some people are making impacts on others' lives. You're making what kind of impact are you making? And the impact through community partners, just to why within itself needs all kinds of support to be able to operate effectively and productively in the lives of all of the people that migrate through there. And I love it. Diversity is there, because occasionally I could go and I attend personally for myself and take advantage. You're not going to believe it, but I went and took a spin class. I've only had one. And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is interesting. And it was a Saturday morning, and he was off the chain good and very, very patient. And I'll go back, but I was like, there's so much that we could take advantage of in life.
Mhm.
There's so much at the Y that I haven't explored. I'll go in, and I go on a pretty much okay regular basis. Yet sometimes I was in the habit of going to my board meetings, learning through there, but getting out and engaging yourself
Mhm.
to experience, not necessarily the spin class, but I mean, just so much there, like the garden and being a part. And I hope you'll give us opportunities to know about the renovation that I took a call there one day in
Oh,
one of your, oh yeah, I love the
yeah.
renovation.
Hey, oh wow. Okay, so that's putting more on my plate. I didn't necessarily add that in there. I didn't put any pictures, but I will talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
We were recently underwent a $2.3 million renovation, which is huge for us as a community, like a community organization. This Y has actually been here since 1986. Um, I was not living here, but I have heard that the road in front of us, which is now a very busy road, it used to be just have two lanes in it, one going each direction. So a lot has changed. Beth could probably tell you more. I think she was in Gwinnett back then. Could tell you more about it, but we have grown with the community. And to have the opportunity to change with the community, and we were able to get a new lobby. We were able to add in family and universal locker rooms, which is such a big deal for us. At the YMCA, at this particular location, we do about 3,000 swim lessons a year. And knowing that we're doing 3,000 swim lessons a year, most of those are youth, not all, because we do offer adult lessons too, but most of those are youth who come with their parents or their caregivers. And sometimes that means you may end up coming with an opposite sex parent or an opposite, and then having those family locker rooms enables them to be able to change. Or also, same kind of going back to our seniors, sometimes we have seniors who come with a caregiver or, their spouse, and having that has been an amazing opportunity for us as an organization. In addition to that, we were able to receive a new play center. And then we were also able to build out our community hub, which is what Beth alluded to a little bit. And for me, we always talk about, one of our places that we go, places that we feel comfortable and feel at home. And when we were able to build that community hub, what it brought back to me, and what is very similar to the garden as well, is building a place where people can interact, they can talk to each other, and have the opportunity to build their community within the organization. Because so many times we go places, we go to the store, we go, we run here, run there, and we don't actually stop and talk to those around us. And, with having the community hub, that's one of our places, in addition to the garden, where we bring people to just engage with each other. And want to tell you a little interesting kind of thing that we have going on this summer. So one of our goals this summer was to engage our teens, because a lot of times they'll come up and they'll recreate, they'll work out, they'll play basketball, they'll do types of things. But we're like, okay, if you're going to be here, we want to, teach you a little something, something. So in our community hub, we actually hosted a cooking class. And it was an easy breezy, pasta, something that they could do at home, but we were used the herbs from the garden. And so it's bringing those communities together. And we hosted it for our teens. And I say bringing those communities together because at about the same time senior class got out. And so they just stopped by and poked their heads in and said, oh, we want to kind of see what's going on because we could smell they could smell the herbs and stuff starting to cook up. And just thinking about how, I mean, when was the last time you saw, a senior sitting with a teenager that they weren't related to? And how that we're building community within our walls is just huge.
I love it. God has a plan. I have to say it, and we are part of it. I mean, you couldn't have planned that. Sometimes we can't make this stuff up, is what I often say, because God just orchestrates that opportunity. And honestly, maybe about 15 minutes ago, somewhere in your sharing and in your presentation, I thought, and maybe it was around the gardens, is the integration of the different ages. And then here you are just totally validating that right now, that that happens, you know. And
Yeah.
some of the kids, have young grandparents, the way
Uh-huh.
society is today.
Yeah.
And to be in the midst of true elders, because
Mhm.
I'm like an old grandmom considered to an older, I should say. I'm
Uh,
not old like that, you know. But what I mean, some of the grandparents, and I get to go to grandma's grandparent daycare or
mhm.
something camp
Oh,
a
okay.
couple of weeks with my granddaughter. Drum and I get to go. We're signed up for that for a couple of months. But I'm sure, and I've already been exposed, I'm going to be kind of old in the age compared to some of the younger grandparents, because they're younger now. They're having kids younger than my kids have. My son
Mhm.
children are young. They're 5 and
Mhm.
2. And then our older daughter's kids are like 13 and 5. That's still young. But considering me at 66, where most of the grandparents these days are in their 40s and such. And I'm like, okay, so to get them around true elders, I
Mhm.
think, because there's a study, and I'm not versed on it right now, but I've read it, where it's so important that kids mingle, if you will,
Mhm.
with elders. And they were talking grandparents, and they were talking like grandparents around my age, so that they can get familiar. There's so much value and, believe it or not, intellect that we lend to the younger generation that is missed oftentimes because the ages are so close.
Yes,
I don't
absolutely.
know.
I think, the opportunity, one, for both of those age groups to have a positive experience with each other is so big, but also so much of our history is oral. So much of our history is just lived experience. And when they get to share it with each other, when someone has the opportunity to talk to when somebody our seniors or someone who is older has the opportunity to talk to our teenagers, to be able to there are things that they can share that you'll never n- never could experience before. And I'm gonna do you mind if I share a little personal story?
No, please do.
So, I will never forget there was a gentleman so I grew up in Nashville, and so I grew up in the Nashville Wise, and, I saw him all the time, I would see him, I would, and in my teenage way, I would, bop, bop in and out of the Y, and one day, we were just sitting around talking, and he proceeds to tell me that he was part of the sit-ins for the civil rights movements. He sat in downtown, and I had never met anyone who had been part of that. So to think that there's somebody with that lived history in our YMCA day in and day out was huge.
Mm, mm, wow. Wow. You know, God is so good in how he orchestrates situations and circumstances that what we need, we kind of collide with it, so to speak. And it just happens because we know that that's Holy Spirit at work. Anidra, you have a comment you want to make. I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yes. Hi, I'm Anidra, Collette,
Dr.
and
Anidra.
Dr. Anidra. I'm a pediatrician around the Atlanta area. So I just work as needed in any place they need me. So I thank you for this presentation. This has been very powerful. Uh, it serves as a avenue for empowerment. But and I used to be a part of a group when I was younger, called the Altru Sets, and this was at my home in Columbia, South Carolina. And we used to go to old folks' home, like we used to call it. And
That's what we
so we
call
would,
it.
yeah, right. And so we would go there like at different holidays and present them with stuff that they really needed, like soaps and shampoo and toilet tissue, stuff like that. So it's really a way to bring together the community. And I think it's good that the older generation gets in touch with the younger generation so they can know what all the older generation has gone through, and they can respect it more.
Absolutely.
Good word.
Yes,
Respect
absolutely.
it more. And
Yes.
honestly, and this isn't this platform, and I don't know that I'd even go any farther than where I am right now in this comment here. A lot of what's happening in society today is because we've moved away from what Dr. Anidra has she said right there, is that going back and teaching them. And that's why we have to value what the Y brings to the table. The mentorship that you provide for the young underserved, young men of color. That's important because in a lot of situations there's fatherless generations. I'm not trying to don't think I'm political because I'm talking truth. Okay. And the Y has a reception,
Mhm.
Colette, to
Absolutely.
everyone to be
Everyone.
able to participate. And we try to make that political,
Yes.
you know?
Mhm.
The opportunity for us is to get back to the basis.
Right.
And I know, and I can relate honestly to what Dr. Nidra said about how we called the convalescent homes.
Mhm.
What was it you said? I know, said it again.
Old folks home.
Old folks home. Yeah. That's what we used to. We're going to the old folks home, and the mentality maybe wasn't where it needed to be in the way that we termed it, but the concept was right there, is that we had to go there, and you brought back memories, Dr. Nidra.
Mhm.
We had to go back and serve, you
Yes,
know, there. I
absolutely.
mean, talking about my mom taught us that. Our that was a trip that we
Yeah.
made to do stuff. This is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the comment.
Yes,
Back
thank
at you,
you.
Colette.
And I appreciate, just the remembrance and the thinking of just how important it is to, get outside and maybe what you're used to in serving your community. And again, I mean, I feel like it's the theme of the day. Like, you had so much to offer. And maybe a lot of times people don't think about what impact they can have when they do share their gifts.
Colette, you're amazing. Thank you so, so much for being here with us today to shed the light and give us greater insight on what the Y stands for. I didn't know when I read that. I said, "Oh, she's going to talk about the gardening piece of it," but I had no idea the depth of your presentation.
Oh, thank you.
You can stop sharing for right now. The
Yeah,
thing
sure.
that I want to say is what Lisa put out there. I'm going to have her really read that scripture if you don't mind. It may sound a little long to you, Lisa, but it is so timely, transitioning out. And then she'll allow you to know about upcoming opportunities at Georgia Christian Business Network as well. And then Colette's gonna bring forward something that she wants to resonate with us beyond today. I mean, she said a lot already, but thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been a wonderful platform.
Awesome. I'll read the verse. Colette, I don't know if you have another way that you want us to connect with you on the Facebook side. I did put the website for the YMC Metro Atlanta, but if you have another contact, if you'll drop that and we'll share that over there. The verse is Titus 2:4-8 in the New Living Translation. And it says, these older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely and be pure, to work in their homes, to do good, and to be submissive to their husbands. Then they will not bring shame on the word of God. In the same, encourage the young men to live wisely. And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. Then those who oppose you will be ashamed and have nothing bad to say about us. So that's the verses. So good.
So good. So good.
Awesome. Okay, so we have some announcements to share with you. Tomorrow is Wellness Wednesday, so you guys check that out. It is a different Zoom link. We have it on our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at Georgia Christian Business Network for our Facebook group, Georgia Christian Business Network LLC for our Facebook page. And we cross-post a lot of the information there, so you'll be able to find that. You can also look at our website, which is gcbnetwork.com, on the events that we have coming up. But every Tuesday, we have a Transformation Tuesday, just like Colette brought us today. And every Wednesday, we have a Wellness Wednesday. So next week is going to be, let me pull this up right fast just so I can speak smartly to it. It looks like we have a kingdom approach for Christian entrepreneurs is what we're talking about. And we have guest co-hosts that are going to be with us tomorrow, James Cox and Yvette Oxford. They're talking about Stand for Metabolic Wellness, a kingdom approach for Christian entrepreneurs. So you definitely want to check that out. How can you stand in your business in a wellness aspect, and hear from these two experts. Saturday, I get to be with you on our members call. So if you're a Georgia Christian Business Network member, we provide a training for you every single month. And we have had one every month. Every week. Every month so far in the year. That's what I'm trying to say. This month is going to be, my children, how you can use a digital toolbox for your business. So a lot of people who own their own business, maybe you manage all of the things within your business, and I'm going to give you tools to be able to use as a busy business owner. And then you're definitely going to want to be there and learn about those tools that we're going to share. That's going to be at 8:30 to 10. I'm sorry, 9. I'm on Central Time, so in my brain it's 8:30, but it's 9:30 East Time, and you'll be able to check out that on the Zoom. So Rose will send that out to all of our members. If you're not a member, you can be a member. You can find out member information at georgiachristianbusinessnetwork.com. I do want to say this really fast before I go into our next events. We have Larissa. I don't know if Larissa's still over on the Facebook side, but Larissa has been over there, Larissa Jean, and she connected us with Judana. Yeah. Over in Belgium. She went to Belgium for a conference. And so I already thanked her over there just for the connection. And, we are all about community. It's God's community. And, it's so neat that I got tears in my eyes right now, just even thinking about it. In Europe, we have Judana over in Europe who is on the call with us today. It's dark over there, probably it's nighttime, but she's here with us. And so if we think bigger, right? What could we do? What can we accomplish? And so I'm just so thankful for the connection. Larissa, thank you for just who you are. And she's been over there commenting on the Facebook side, so y'all check that out. We also have a prayer call every Monday morning. If you are not tapping into that call, it's 9 a.m. Eastern time. And it's not, we don't have slides or anything like that. It's just you show up where you are. We had some ladies that were in our cars. I was in the car, but there was other people, so I don't feel so bad. But there are people who show up in their car. There are people who show up in their living room. There are people who show up at their desk, and they are just really bringing their prayers to this call. And on that call, I got chills. There were answers to prayers at that call. So it is
Yes.
important. And Beth has been ushering us through this and standing. You have to seek the Savior in solitude. Yes, we need to do that. We need to seek him first. We need to seek him in solitude. And we also need to pray, both corporately and in small, little, tiny groups, on a Monday prayer call. On a Saturday when it's just you and your person that you're calling and y'all are praying and things are moving. And so it's just an awesome opportunity. So put that on your calendar every Monday at 9 o'clock. The information is on our Facebook page. You can check that out. You can reach out to us, info@gcbnetwork.com, and we can share, whatever you need there information wise. So we have a full lineup for July. We hope that you will check that out. Rose has already posted those into our events on Facebook. I know it'll probably go on the website as well soon today. So y'all check that out. And thank you so much for letting me share announcements.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. And prior to going to Collette for that last final comment, I want to ask Jadonna if she would quickly share the scripture that God had placed on your heart.
So this is a scripture I want to share with Colette. It's 1 Corinthians 3, chapter 3, and from verse 6 till 9. And it speaks about seeds, planting seeds, and it speaks about water. And I want to encourage you because in the scripture, few words I want you to highlight, which is the reward and that we are co-workers. And this is also one of the scripture, because Larissa and I, we are in a group of women internationally, and this is our core scripture to remind each other that you don't have to build alone. You don't have to plan alone. And we know that God is the one that makes it grow. And I really want to release this prayer over you. I know connection is there, but I believe more connection is going to come. So I want you to expand and I want you to think bigger and get a plan ready because this vision is too small for Lawrenceville.
I love it.
Because this is deep. You might think that you're only planning and growing, but this from the elder, Miss Beth already, she highlight, and we keep highlighting the same thing: seed, planting, cultivate, patient, generation, closing the gap.
Yeah.
And this is a foundational wealth. This is treasure. And that's my prayer. But I know this is not going to be our first and last meeting. So I'm gonna text Miss Beth, see if we can go on a sidetrack together and see where we
Awesome.
can work.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you all for joining us today. Visit that website, gcbnetwork.com. We're focused, determined, and intentional to put God back in business. Collette, close us out, my friend.
So, if I had to leave you guys with one thing, it would be to invite you to come to our community garden dinner. I'm gonna drop the link in right here. But our community garden dinner, this is our fourth one. It's part of how we do fund our community garden, but it's also a way that we continue to give back. And the way that I want to share a little bit about that. So this is, like I said, our fourth one. We work with a partner. His name is Chef Hank. He has his own nonprofit called Let 'em Eat. And through Let 'em Eat, he started feeding people through the pandemic and continues to feed people throughout this community today. And essentially he goes to our homeless shelters, our what we call day-to-day hotels and motels around the community to ensure that people have healthy food to eat that they can easily stick in a microwave and make it happen. So one, to be able to partner with him to throw this event is huge, but also it brings people to our community, teaches them about our garden, and you get a wonderful meal as well.
And it is wonderful.
Yes.
Some of the best salmon I've ever had. That man can cook.
Yes,
Okay.
he can. Yes, he can. And
Yes, he can.
and it'll and it's just another opportunity to build community within our greater community. So I hope that you'll be able to attend. I threw that up there. Can I share my screen real quick again in case you wanted to see the invite? And I'll share that. You can also go straight to the link, and being able to is a great opportunity to just come out and see and fellowship with people around the community.
That would be so awesome. Y'all come out. We're going to be promoting it through our GCBN newsletter. We're going to, Lisa, make sure Rose is connected, that we can get the hard copy and actually put it in the newsletter leading up to. And then we're just going to blow it away this time. We're going to make sure that the community comes out to experience this. So we'll be a part of funding the community gardening, but for so many other things that we've already talked about, for community, relational opportunities that go forth, that the Y provides. Collette, thank you so much for joining us today. We do apologize, we went slightly over, but
Oh.
God has a plan and we're a part of it. And we're so glad that you are part of what we're doing and that you're undergirding the work that we are called to at Georgia Christian Business Network. This is the year to stand, continue to seek the Savior in solitude, understanding that transforming transforming true trumps temptation, that we're anointed and appointed for the assignment. Continue to nurture, nourish the nature of God within you, and understand that the key is the D, and also being discerning, disciplined, determined to see the end, because God already knows the end in the beginning, and that we walk in that discipline and that we deliver dynamically. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us today. Lisa, appreciate you. Appreciate you ladies being here today, the entire time with us, and all of those that will watch the replay, and those, Larissa and whomever over on the Facebook side of the house. We appreciate you. God bless you now. Bye-bye now.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Collette.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.